Start the morning right with a cup of Vinyl Tap. Nothing beats the refreshing taste of a hot, warm mug of Vinyl Tap. Enjoy your podcast in liquid form today. Vinyl Tap. Enjoy responsibly.
2, 1.
Vinyl Tap.
I'm
TV.
Jackson. This month's theme was nostalgia.
Did you get it?
Yes.
Yeah, I knew.
Yeah.
I figured it out.
I had no idea that.
Yeah,
No, just
I've listened to
kidding.
young Garbarek so much.
The Baby Garlic group.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
them.
The
Garlic
album
bread.
that had 4 songs on it that went for 50 fucking minutes. I remember.
So-
Jesus Christ.
so-
Listen to
what-
that every day as
What
a
I'm
kid.
hearing right now is Jackson is voting for Beebs to lose.
Hey,
the vote.
let's not
Yeah.
jump straight into me losing.
Let's delay that.
Let's
Later.
fluff it up a little bit,
Let's
you know?
fluff it up
No,
before I
let's
lose.
get to the point very quickly.
So, look, there was a great selection across the panel. Young Garlic group.
Why did you choose the Young Garlic group?
Okay, no. So Young Garlic is Young Garlic is.
Do you want me to tie him up before you interrogate him?
No. So Young Gabriel is there's a lot of jazz history that all ties into this, but essentially, the ECM label, which has all that kind of really cool experimental jazz stuff, that's that label is what I grew up with.
Right.
And Jan Gabriel is just a fucking awesome player, and so he's a real standout for me. And Dad listened to him all the time, and we literally had his CD in the car for a year of him taking me to school and back. So that's how I know that album. Every school trip, 35-minute drive or 40 minutes depending on traffic.
Like half the album.
Yeah, half the
And then
album.
the other half
No.
on the way home.
It was literally
Yeah, that's right,
the
yeah.
beauty of it was that it was 4 out of the 5 tracks. So every time you hop in the car, you start the album at a new point, but it cycles literally infinitely. So
Oh, yeah.
it doesn't matter when you start listening to it, it's a continuous loop. There's no beginning and end to it. So that's how I learnt that album. And I learned every solo, how it all went, and it's just from sitting in the car and listening to it and singing along and
Singing.
yeah.
Sure, okay.
I mean, he was singing this stuff when
Yeah.
we were listening to it.
Yeah, okay, I
Mad.
suppose.
Yeah.
The melodies.
No,
and
there's the melodies and
the leads and-
the leads and the emotional expression.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's just
No, okay, I can get that.
and sometimes it's
Yeah, just like that.
the classic
Yeah.
moments. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
exactly how it
they're
sounds
the two
as well.
emotions I felt.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
So that's me. Seeing as you're giving me so much shit, why'd you pick your album?
Accurate.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah. No, so it came out in 2013 or something like
That's right, I think.
that. Yeah, I think it's right.
He's talking about the story so far.
Sorry, yeah,
what
the
you
story,
don't see.
yeah, what you don't see, the story so far. I chose that because I sort of, I relate to that album, all of the lyrics, the story behind the album. It's it's an album of personal growth and development, and at that point of time, I was going through the same thing, basically. I went from an edgy teenager who was so sure of himself, and then I got challenged by friends, partners, girlfriends, jobs, whatever, and I had to deal with insecurity, dealing with emotions, making choices for myself that I wasn't exactly sure were the right ones to make, and all of those subjects were touched on within the album, What You Don't See. So the lyrics are very dear to me, and the music itself is very interesting and exciting to listen to. So that's why I chose that album, because I have a very personal, emotional connection to it. And even if if everybody here loved it or everybody hated it, I would still walk away feeling the same way, because it is a very contextual thing. It's a personal relationship that I have with that album, and people can love it, people can hate it, people can hate the songs that I love. It's not going to make a difference to like my opinion on the album because I relate to it on such a deep emotional level to it.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Just skipping to me. Okay. Cat Empire. The Cat Empire.
Cat Empire.
Cat Empire.
Cat Empire.
Cat Empire.
Yeah.
Which album? Oh, the Cat Empire.
Yeah.
Who's it by?
Cat
Cat
Empire.
Empire?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Right.
Ross Owen.
He's on it.
Love you, Ross.
Similar to both, I guess. I just remember it being in the car, mostly like driving to like Taekwondo grading because it was like on the Central Coast, so it was like a longer trip. And you heard the whole like album, but
That is an essential teenage memory.
not even teenage. I was like way like
Like, younger?
yeah,
Classic. Everyone's
Yeah.
got a Taekwondo story somewhere in their life. Like,
super
Mine was
like
karate.
six,
Yeah, I was
six-ish.
karate, yeah.
I want to say.
Fuck.
No, I might have been too young. It was
Gonna say 8.
01 or 03.
right.
I can't remember, but yeah, maybe 8 is more accurate. But like that kind of age, I don't know. I just always loved it musically. Not that I would have been able to explain why at that age. And now just having grown up with it for so long, just loved it. You know,
Well, it's
and
an-
loved
it's
the
an-
band as well.
It's an exciting album musically.
Yeah,
I think like a young person, like 8, 9, 10, 11, whatever, would be able to listen to it and appreciate like how exciting
Have a
it is.
lot of fun with that album.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It is a fun album. It is, a
And
lot of fun.
There's a lot that I didn't like as much when I was younger that I think I like more now. You know, 8-year-old definitely would have been like, oh, Hello is my favorite song.
Yeah,
And it's still a fun song, but it's by no way like my favorite anymore. And I think that it's interesting for me to have been that involved with an album for so long that like as I've grown, it like kind of is reflective of my taste and interest in music as to what's become the favorite, because it's kind of shifted and still does shift.
Yeah, right.
And that in itself is a cool like experience.
yeah.
And also just analyzing it, I've never sat down and thought about it from like a musical theory perspective until we've done this.
It's weird doing
And
that
it's
to albums.
really
It's
It
literally
really
how I
ex-
listen to everything.
it really explains a lot about why I create music in the way I do and think about music in the way I do, which I hadn't really put together until we did this.
Yeah.
But also makes a lot of sense.
So, Tim,
American Idiot by Green Day was always playing in my house. I have 3 older brothers who were of like punky, like kind of edgy phases in the years after this album's release. And I think it was very palatable to them at that time. And like I was 8, I didn't know what the fuck was going on. But then later, in my mid-teen years, I had to take the train to school every day, and I listened to an album. It was like an album-length train ride. It was 47 minutes, and I had 3 albums I put on rotation, and they all came out in 2004. I only just realized, which is interesting, it was Absolution by Muse, Hot Fuss by The Killers, and American Idiot. And
oh, really?
yeah.
That explains so much about
I
you.
would have would have
Wow.
picked the other 2, but would not have picked the Green Day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, maybe Green Day didn't find so much of its way into how I make music today. Maybe it did in ways that we can't track so well. But yeah, I've heard this album a lot. And again, just like Biebs, I have a lot of trouble listening to lyrics because there's all this music going on. And even though I've listened to those albums thousands of times, I can't tell you what he's singing about.
Yeah, right.
yeah.
I could sing the lyrics in the moment.
I know,
like,
I was
having
there.
to like recall
Yeah,
them. I could not like
I'm exactly the
do
same.
it. Like it's
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
tied to the music in my mind that they're not separate entities.
Yeah.
The interesting thing is, I can't remember if this was American Idiot or 21st Century Breakdown, but Billy Joe brought the other guys into a room where he'd already written all the lyrics and he read the whole album out to them.
I mean, that
like,
sounds like a thing he'd do. I don't
Completely
know what
divorced
for.
of music.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't see like that album for me. Like it followed me around everywhere.
It's
in school.
inescapable.
Yeah, exactly. But I
It's-
didn't have that relationship with the album.
Really?
Like I enjoyed it.
It's one
But-
of the first things that I like learnt when I was playing guitar, And I obviously from a technical standpoint, but also just from the age I was at and being interested in music and picking up the guitar for the first time.
Yeah.
It was just a popular thing that was around that made sense to learn.
Actually, that's...
But I did also really like the music when I was like that age as well.
I didn't, yeah. So I obviously, I liked the music, but actually American Idiot was one of my first memories of learning a song on drums. But that was only a song that I learned because all of the guitarists within like the music group in school learnt that fucking song. And I had to, like, if I wanted to play with people, I needed to learn the songs that everybody knew. And I didn't necessarily like not like the song, it just wasn't my style of music, so I just learned to play it.
Well, it's musically kind of simple. Like it's an easy thing to learn first on guitar, right?
It is. Yeah.
And like that was kind of my experience of like as a violinist. It was kind of you can't quite just pick it up and play it. So it wasn't something that really caught my interest because I was like, oh, I could try and play that, or I could try and play these other things which like
take a lot more effort.
Yeah, like well, they're just like their natural analog in
like
you
the
know,
level
like folk music or like wherever it was.
Yeah.
Like I could just pick that up and learn that. I was like, cool, okay, like I'll just play that sort of music. You know, I'll play like jazz or I'll play something else that's I didn't have that instrument to just put me in that space. You know.
Like now.
That was similar to
Like
me
now.
before I found my true calling as a harmonica player. Yeah. So, what do we think of listening to albums that are nostalgic to each of us as a method of like finding music to listen to? Is this worth exploring, or is it just like we've done it now, goodbye?
I think it's a really good insight to like how we grew up, I suppose.
Yeah.
Because I don't necessarily think the albums that we chose are a really good indication of our tastes today.
No, not at all.
But with that being
I
said,
hate punk.
but with that being said, I think it's a good indication of like how we grew up and our taste in music now and how it has like evolved. Like I think for me on a personal level and the relationship I have with you three boys is it's given me a good like image on the path that you've taken from the point at which you discovered this album, all the shit that you sort of like gone through, and then it got to this point now. All the albums you chose, they do make sense, and I can see it. And I think giving each of us the opportunity to look into what we used to like or still like to this day, but ultimately still has that sort of emotional connection to, I think it's a really interesting way to get to know somebody on a whole another level, right? Because hypothetically, I could know you boys for the next fucking 20 years. And I could sit down, have conversations night after night, and still not have the same sort of understanding as I do now if I didn't get an opportunity to listen to an album that you chose.
Right. Share music with your homies.
Yeah, exactly.
So
yeah.
fucking
I
important.
think you sort of hit the nail on the head earlier when you were sort of saying like when I brought my album, I knew that everyone would hate it, but also like it kind of that doesn't affect me in the slightest.
Right, yeah, you still have that relationship.
Because there is that relationship that like even if my musical taste changed, that connection is a part of just growing up.
Yeah.
So like even if I would listen to that album today, and there are albums that I have this relationship with where like I loved it as a kid, and then sort of growing up, I'm like, I'm not such a fan of that anymore.
Like the Wiggles.
S Club 7.
S Club 7. High five. And it's like I listen to that today, and it's kind of like
Megadeth.
I can actually still hear and
Dragon
I'm
Force.
has all the same
Actually true.
and has all the same like nostalgic effects, even though today my like taste is well and truly moved on from that.
Yep.
And yeah, that's sort of like it's it's an intimacy of your own character in a lot
Yeah.
of ways. It's like, yeah, this is kind of a part of who I am.
Yep.
Sonically, musically, whatever.
Doesn't that just make it great how much you two clashed?
I mean, yeah, no, because because you shat all over my album, and I fucking hated your album.
And everyone liked ours.
Yeah. But I think it's fine because we're all at a point now. We're obviously like mature enough. But had we have done this, sorry,
Speak for yourself.
fair enough.
You say the M word around me.
Materia. But I now I've forgotten what I was fucking saying.
We're all mature enough.
We're all mature enough to sort of like cop that criticism about what we chose to not have it affect like our relationship we have with that album.
Well, like for me, it's now just
Well,
actually,
actually-
no. So to like broaden on that point, like so for me, it's now such just an intrinsic part of my growing up and my character that like someone can shit on it and I can agree with those points, and yet that doesn't change how I feel like about it, because it's a nostalgic thing. Like when you think about nostalgia, it's not actually necessarily about like whether that's fucking cringeworthy or not. It's that in the moment,
That's how you felt.
that's
about
how
it.
you felt.
Yeah,
And the
Nostalgia is a
nostalgia,
hell of a drug.
it's
Yeah.
a hell of a drug, right?
It's a bit like Novocaine.
You proud of yourself?
Oh yeah, mate. Yeah, thank
That actually reminds me of when Andrew brought Disney Skate Adventure Extreme for the
he did
PS2.
bring that as a
Oh my
nostalgic.
god,
Yeah,
I remember
yeah.
that game.
Holy shit, you're
Really?
the only
Holy-
person.
we were like, we
my
had no
God,
clue
yes.
what it was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he brought the soundtrack to that for our sibling choice month.
Oh, that would be a good soundtrack.
It was interesting.
It was interesting.
Yeah.
I feel like you'd have a nostalgic connection. We shat all over it.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, but
that,
here's the thing,
that'd be
he
like
didn't care.
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Right.
It was
yeah.
like, it's still what it is, and I still
Yeah.
love it.
See,
Brilliant.
like, it's like Tony Hawk, Pro Skater, Need for Speed Underground 2.
Yeah.
They're the.
Tony Hawk is the only reason I like Rise Against.
I discovered Rise Against through Underground 2.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. So
Ready to Fall and Like the Angel. Yeah.
Yes, Ready to
Yeah.
Fall. Yeah. Anyway, we're getting off track.
Yeah. And that's still
Very.
nostalgia.
It is still
still
nostalgia.
nostalgia.
Yeah.
Fucking
yeah.
loved that game.
Actually, well, yeah, no, I'm not going to jump on that point.
Are you ready to lose?
No, I'm not ready to lose yet. I'm not ready to lose yet. So what I think is kind of Jackson's album. No fucking idea. I hadn't really heard that ever in my life, and I hated it. Oh my god.
Yeah, how bad is a good mix, right?
A good mix is
Oh,
a fucking
God,
terrible
yeah.
idea. The Cat Empire is something that like I didn't actually discover until kind of like later in life, like my late teens.
You're
And
from Melbourne.
I know, but like it
Oh,
wasn't
no.
until I was kind of doing house parties and like going to friends' house parties and whatever like that. There was a lot of Cat Empire going on then, and so that's where you sort of learn all your songs in that context. So Cat Empire for me sort of brings back a, I don't know, like
Loose party vibes.
loose party vibe, right? But like the thing that sort of like Green Day is kind of the only thing that was like culturally nostalgic, wherein
Sure,
it just
okay.
kind of was there. I'm like, whoa, fuck that! Like
Here
that brings
I
me
am.
back to the schoolyard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, where it's just like, oh, have you heard this song? Like,
Yeah.
you hear it on the radio or whatever. But
I remember people sharing those songs with me on MySpace.
yeah,
Remember MySpace? Oh my god. I hope you're still out there, Tom.
So yeah, I think. So like, are we announcing the winner? Like our
Oh, we
votes?
vote. Yeah, we
It's
vote.
voting time?
So I'm just gonna, before
really
anyone
gonna lose
votes,
right
just
now?
gonna straight up say, thank you for bringing your album. It was an experience.
you'll suck.
It gave me no nostalgia.
Wait, so do we always have a loser? I feel like
No, we don't.
I'm gonna
just
say
wanted
to
I'm
poke
gonna,
fun.
I'm gonna
I
vote
just
for a
wanted to
winner.
poke
I'm gonna
fun.
vote for a winner,
Yeah.
right? So
Okay,
let's
vote for the winner.
I think the winner was Green Day because it was the only other nostalgic moment for me. Everyone else kind of like didn't really bring back that
It
sense
didn't
of
have
like
that same connection.
didn't put me back in like a specific time and place of like, yeah, everyone was fucking talking about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like schoolyard, radio, like it just everywhere. There was fucking Green Day happening.
Yep. Yeah, I think I agree as well. Green Day has my vote. As much as I love What You Don't See, and I would hands down choose What You Don't See over American Idiot in every sort of other competition, I think the Green Day American Idiot album has my vote for the same level of like raw nostalgia because it just was so inescapable. Like Tim, you mentioned it like before. Yeah, you couldn't get away from it. And all the songs are really fucking good. And I was getting like flashbacks and images of like my like adolescent years in high school. Like
When Wake Me Up When September Ends came on, I actually welled up a little bit.
really?
Don't know if you saw that.
I didn't know.
Yeah, no. There you go.
Yeah.
Now, it looks like things are ramping up in a certain way, so Jason.
No, you're gonna vote.
Okay, well, I mean, what do you think I'm going to vote for? It's already winning, and I
young
brought
garlic.
it.
Yeah, the baby garlic. Yeah.
I similarly didn't listen to Cat Empire in my childhood. It was exposed to me in my middling teenage years, like on school buses and shit like that. And it does make me think of St. Kilda Beach and that kind of summery escape vibe. But as I said, American Idiot, it like was a lot of my childhood and those teenage years. And a lot of thoughts on those trains, listening to those songs, looking out the window, trying to escape life into that music. So so there you go. Thank you, Billy, Jason.
I mean, it's irrelevant. I was trying to give it like is Tim going to be gracious and vote for someone else so I've got
Are
tension?
you going to vote for someone else?
No.
Okay.
But I wanted to see if I could create some tension in the voting,
Yeah.
which is why I was like, no, Tim, go.
Yeah.
But he did the Andrew and was like, nah, it's me.
I was already.
Well, yeah, I mean, he
I was already
obviously
winning.
thinks-
Yeah, but if you voted for someone else, we could have had a tie.
Yeah, and I don't want to tie, do I? We don't have a fifth person.
I don't
in
want to
the
tie. I want to win.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you've all said it. It makes sense. We all knew it, except for you. I still don't understand.
What do you mean?
Because
That
musically,
was such a fucking attack.
yeah,
Wow.
because you were literally like, I've never listened to this before, and
No, but well, no, I have listened to it, but it's not something that I actively ever sat down and was like, yeah, fucking.
right,
But I also like I know every song,
okay,
and it's such a like I remember like people talking about it like primary school and like
All through
I
high
think we
school.
did like a school play where that song came on. Like it was all through high school. Culturally inescapable, like you said.
Yep.
You just couldn't fucking get away from it, and it's sort of like, I don't know, you just have no choice but to like
Oh,
it.
I was gonna say I would be a hypocrite to say it's one of the reasons I was like initially playing guitar and then to not vote for it.
Yeah. And look, I know that everyone's been, well, at least everyone on this table has been waiting for it. I hereby submit defeat. I lost this month. And young Garbarek, I love you. You're amazing. Fuck these guys.
You are a really
They're
good
shit.
sax player.
Yeah, that's
Young
incredible.
Gabriel, you are a phenomenal sax player.
And I love your name.
Yeah.
The baby garlic.
The baby
man.
garlic group. The young garlic. No, fuck off. No, young Garbarek is a tasty, tasty treat.
I think it's Scandi. What are you
Deliciously
talking about?
done
No,
on bread.
I appreciate and really enjoy the musicianship involved in that album. I still don't like it. It wasn't
You're
enough.
just wrong, actually.
That's fine.
Yeah, it is fine.
Next week on Vinyl Tap, we'll be listening to Led Zeppelin 4 by Led Zeppelin. Click above to find out what else we've spoken about in this theme.
Click below to support the artist that we just listened to.
And make sure to tune in next week for more Vinyl Tap.
That's pretty good.